Hello everyone, thanks for joining me again, lovely to have you here. Okay, so let's get going with this one. First I started with the crackle paste around the edges of the wooden panel, which measures approximately 8 inches by 8 inches or in centimeters 20 by 20. I only wanted small cracks, so I spread it on pretty thinly. You can heat it if you want to speed up the process, but I let it dry naturally. I was playing around with some industrial pieces including old circuit boards, cable ends, and connectors. Chain and bulbs. I wanted them to be visible, so I put them around the top and bottom edges and built the middle up with resin cogs that I'd previously cast. As they are heavy, bulky items, I used Finnabair heavy body gel to glue them down. You have to be generous with this glue, make sure you press the items down to trap the glue and then wipe any excess away. It does dry clear, but it's best to wipe it away at the time, if you can. You can either leave it naturally to dry or use the heat tool to speed up the process. Once everything was completely rock solid, I primed all the elements with one thin coat of white gesso. If you want to keep one of the elements the original color, this is the time to use clear gesso on that element. But I wanted everything white. I find it easier to turn the piece around rather than try to stretch over and paint it upside down. Besides which, you get to see the piece from all sides, and it's easier to see where you have missed a bit. Be sure to thoroughly dry it before moving on to the next step. I squeezed out some Finnabair, ink black, fluid acrylic onto my palette and randomly painted it onto the gessoed elements. Then using my water spray bottle, I sprayed the ink to water down and disperse the color. And basically, I carried on with this process until I was happy with the coverage and the color. It's really important to dry between layers. And to tone it down a bit and get some contrast, I dry brushed with white gesso. If you don't know how to dry brush, you basically load your brush up with paint and then scrub most of it off on a paper towel. You can brush it over your hand, and if you don't see anything, then you are probably good to go. If you see the color on your hand, then rub off a bit more on the paper towel. Then angle your brush at about 45 degrees and rub your brush over what you are wanting to dry brush, and you should just see touches of color appear. Don't be too heavy-handed. You can always put on multiple layers, but it's not as easy to take off. You sort of just tickle the pieces to start with. And I just kept going until I achieved the look I was after. I was just checking what it looked like with the main element in place. Next came the waxes. I pulled out various colors of white, silver and black and began applying them with a stencil brush. I used the silver shades first. Then the white pearl, which I used mainly won the Crackle. I started off using it with my finger but soon switched back to the brush. Then I squeezed out some old white, which is more of a matte white. It's much brighter and much whiter than the pearl. Moving the wooden panel around again to ensure good coverage. I squeezed out some of the soot color, which again is a matte wax. And lastly, I added the brighter of the silver to the moth wings and the pearl for the body. And I just kept adding touches until I was happy with the colors and contrasts. I went back to the Finnabair ink black fluid acrylic paint as I wanted to darken up some areas and add depth and shadow. Again, there is no right or wrong, it's your personal preference when to stop. And here, I'm just checking that the last two elements are still going to look okay. I decided that I needed to add more bling to it, so I got out my stash of silver cogs and gears and started to see where they would best fit. Firstly, I decorated the moth. Then I started to add some more to the background. Once I was happy with the layout, I used heavy body gel to stick them all down. Next I made a mistake. I should have done the next step first before I stuck the bulb down. But it's okay, it didn't spoil anything. I wanted to make some splats, so I watered down some white gesso. I also covered the glass in the bulb with a piece of tissue. And the very last thing to do was to glue down the main element, the moth. I used heavy body gel to stick the moth on with. And there we have it, the end result. I hope you like it and I hope it's inspired you to have a go. Thanks very much for staying with me, and if you can, give me a like and leave me a comment please. Everything helps to grow my channel. Hope to see you again for the next one.